You're listening to Served Up, a podcast that features inspiring beverage professionals and topic experts that share their passions through meaningful conversations. I'm your host, Bridget Albert, also known as the Market Fresh Mixologist, an industry mentor with decades of experience. Grab a cocktail and sit back. Let's learn how we can make a positive impact in our industry. Hey y'all, it's Bridget here. I'm excited to share an insightful conversation with Daniel de Oliveira, the manager of product education at Southern Glazer's Wine and Spirits of Illinois. Daniel brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise in educating and training teams and innovations in the beverage industry. In this interview, he discusses his role, the importance of product education, and how he's shaping the future of beverage programs. So sit back, relax, grab yourself your favorite mojito, and enjoy the show. Dan, welcome to the show. It is about damn time that you came on Served Up.
I can't believe we finally made it happen. Better late than never.
Better late than never. Can you tell our audience a bit about yourself? And let's start early on. Where did you grow up? What was that like for you? And, what brought you into the Chicago beverage scene?
So I born and raised in Chicago. I got my first restaurant job, if you want to consider Chuck E. Cheese a restaurant, at 15 years old. And I was kind of introduced to the chaos at that moment. And I decided I kind of liked it. And then from that on, I went to work at Navy Pier at a American bistro as a host. And I remember being a host and I really enjoyed my job, but I remember seeing the bartender behind the bar and he wasn't necessarily very good. I don't think I even seen him smile one time, but I just knew that like something about it. I was like, I want to be that guy. I want to be the guy behind the bar. I didn't know why. Like I had no idea at all. So I did a couple other various restaurant jobs. And as soon as I turned 21, the moment I turned 21, I got my first bartending job a month later. And it was at a neighborhood bar in North Center. It was great. I didn't know anything about cocktails. I didn't know anything about spirits. Word mixology was not in my vocabulary. It was just fun. It was just serving beers, shots, ripping heaters with my customers, which is so gross to think about, smoking behind the bar. But that's what we did back then, dating myself a little bit here. And from then on, went to National 27, where I worked for 3 years, learned about, craft cocktails. And we're talking 20 years ago. But we were doing crazy stuff back then, Bridget. As you know, we were putting fresh lime juice in margaritas, which is crazy.
I remember
because here we are
that.
20 years later, and people still are refusing to do it, which I'm just like, we've been fighting this fight for 2 decades and we still can't get a fresh lime in a margarita. And then I went to run the program at Boca for 3 years where I kind of cut my teeth. I didn't really know what I was doing. And then opened up Mercadito with Kyle and a whole crew of people. I don't know how they fit that many egos behind one bar, but somehow they did. It was super fun. Moonlighted at the Crimson Lounge with Mr. Todd Apple. It was my club days. And then stepped over to the brand side and launched Altos Tequila in US. So did that for 4 years, traveled all around US, back and forth to Mexico. Went on to work for LeBlanc Cachaça. Cachaça is the national spirit of Brazil. I'm half Brazilian. From that point, I went to Jägermeister for 2 years. I'm half German, so that worked out pretty well. And then I found myself where I'm at now, which is your former job, the mixologist for Southern Glazer's Wine and Spirits. And I've been here now just over 6 years.
It's pretty amazing when you think about your career, and especially somebody who's a native to Chicago, to see the changes that happen in the cocktail scene, right? You mentioned like you worked at National. I remember those days, yes, with the fresh lime and all the good stuff. And yes, it is still really hard sometimes to find a drink with fresh freshness added in it, market freshness, as I like to say. So, can you talk about some of the changes that you have seen from early on in your career to today? Let's talk about both the positive and the negative.
Okay, let's start with positive. I mean, we're talking pre-COVID here. Everything that we're talking about, positive, negative, is pre-COVID because everything afterwards is. But hospitality has always been something that I pride our city on. I think Chicago is the greatest food and drink city in the entire country. Obviously, I'm biased. I'm from here. But the thing that sets us apart is our hospitality. You know, no matter if you're going to a mom and pop diner or you're going to a Linea, you're getting quality service. And that's what really sets us apart. And then as far as like the negative, the way I describe it to people is, you know, bartending 20 years ago, the average consumer, they didn't know shit. 20 years later, they still don't know shit. They just think they know everything. So it's a little bit difficult to try to deal with these people. But you know, it's been a journey, and it's nice to see what happened with COVID is the people that were terrible customers, they got worse, but the people who were great customers got better. So it was kind of like it all balanced itself out. So, but it's nice to see, you know, hospitality coming back, and, you know, just a lot of the younger generation. There's not a lot of people to show them the way and mentor them. And, you know, it's hospitality is not that hard. It's something as simple as holding the door open, you walking out of a restaurant and someone who didn't even interact with your table at all, like didn't bring you a water, didn't bring you a drink, nothing. You're just walking out and they say, you know, thank you so much for coming. It's like those little things that, like, if you're not taught them, you don't think about them. And that's one thing working for National 27, which is a lettuce entertain you restaurant, was those things like stick in your head for like the rest of your life. It's just like, you know, 2 minutes, 2 bites, you know, make sure the table has everything that they need. Never ask if everything's okay, because why wouldn't it be okay? Of course it's going to be okay. Just ask them if they have everything that they need. Like, it's just like those little things that, like, if you're not taught them, and especially the younger generation coming in now, like a lot of people left during COVID and, you know, found new jobs and, you know, real estate or whatever else. And, you know, people are opening restaurants and they need bodies, and, you know, maybe this person is not qualified, but I got to get the doors open, and I got investors I need to pay. I got money I need to make. So, but I think that we're on the right track. I really do.
You look at young Dan behind the bar, like early on in your career, right? You know, what was going through your head versus seasoned beverage professional today?
It was just fun. Like, that's what it was just fun. It wasn't like, I remember seeing like the whole cocktail renaissance in Chicago from like its inception, like from the beginning, when it was like before Drawing Room, before Violet Hour. Like, it was just fun. Like, it wasn't like we didn't take ourselves too seriously. And then we kind of got in this place where we were super serious, like no flavored vodka, fresh juice or die, and like all this stuff. And like we'd look down on people for ordering, you know, stupid cocktails in our opinion back then, which it's funny to see the whole thing kind of go full circle. And now, you know, when I'm creating cocktails, I'm reaching for that bottle of Midori. I'm reaching for that bottle of Blue Curacao. I'm reaching for that bottle of Hypnotic. And when bartenders see that and they're like, what are you doing? Like, what? I'm like, I keep the Midori in at my bar in one of those skull decanters. So it's like this bright green skull that sits on the top of the bar, and the bartenders come in, they're like, oh man, what's that? And I'm like, it's this exotic melon flavored liqueur from Japan. They're like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. I'm like, yeah, it's Midori, dude. So it's fun to see that we're getting back to having fun. It's still, you know, this younger generation, they want to go straight from high school. They want to go straight from high school to the pros. They don't want to play any college ball. It's like, you know, I had a kid in and he's like, oh man, I want to do a fat washing and do this and do that and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, which I don't do any of that. I keep it simple, but not, whatever you want to do. If you want to clarify everything, if you want to, but then I asked him, I was like, well, what about for your citrus program? What are you doing? He's like, oh no, you can't juice fresh. It's too hard. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. You're talking about fat washing and all this other stuff. And it was just like, it's, yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to see, how everything is going, but I try to just show people, how simple and easy great cocktails can be. It doesn't need to be all this complicated stuff.
It's really funny that you say that. So 20 years ago, when I first re-entered the Chicago scene, I remember meeting somebody that we both know, and he was just so excited to tell me about all the molecular things that he was doing and all this and all that. And Bridge, have you tried this? Have you tried? I'm, doing this thing with bacon and, whatever. I was like, that's great. Do you know how to make a really good gin and tonic? Like, have you ever made a gin and tonic? No, no, no. But I'm doing this stuff with bacon and all these things. And I was like, but you almost have to, and I feel like in this industry, and I think it's the same thing like on the culinary side, and really with any gig that you have, is that you really need to learn to walk before you run. Because if you learn how to walk before you run, then the road underneath you is steady.
Yeah, it's all about building a solid foundation. I teach 25 classic cocktails every bartender should know. And that's, if you know these 25 cocktails, in my opinion, and you have the one thing that I can't teach you, do you have a personality? Do you like people? More importantly, do people like you? Mm-hmm. And that's the biggest thing. And I try to tell the younger generation, like, don't get caught up in all this. I mean, yes, is it important to know the difference between a VS, a VSOP, and an XO cognac? Of course. Is it important to know the difference between a Blanco, Repo, and Añejo, and an extra Añejo? Most definitely. But one thing that's going to get people coming back to your bar is you. It's like, oh, Bridget's working on Friday. Well, I got some friends coming into town. She knows when I'm going to go in there and she's going to have my drink ready and I'm going to, introduce her to my friends and like, I'm going to feel like a rock star. And like, some people go to places for drinks. Like, oh, this place has the best old fashioned, or this place has the best, places like, cocktail bars, like fancy cocktail bars that people go just for the drinks. But for the most part, people go to bars for people. They want, and I try to instill that and be like, don't get so caught up in this. You have to make sure that make these people want to come back.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you want to make sure that because regulars are the best. When they're great regular customers, they are the best, right? You get to know them like part of your family.
Yeah. I mean, I've had regular customers that, that are so great that like, obviously they always tip well, but it's like, I don't even care if you tip well. I don't even care if you tip at all. I'm just happy to see you. When I have other customers that are tip well, but I'm like, please never come back here ever again. I don't want to see you. I don't care if you're tipping me 30% because you think you're a big shot or whatever it is. Like, so yeah, I mean, we've got those regulars that turn into friends and, lifelong friends. And it's just, yeah, it's a great dynamic.
It is. What are, because you've been in the industry for quite a while and people definitely know you either, from participating in different ways, like at Speed Rack, right? You've mentored people. You've actually used to DJ Speed Rack in Chicago, back in the day, for instance. I know I've seen you probably 100 times at Tales of the Cocktail and, all the places and all the things. What are some of the lessons that you've learned that you wish that you would have known as a young Dan?
Oof.
Let's dive in. I know there's some good nuggets there.
That's a good question. I don't know. That's a good question. And I'd have to think about that because, I've obviously made a lot of mistakes along the way, but that's how I got here. You know what I mean? There's no mistake about it. Like, yes, I messed up with this job and, like for example, like I got fired from a restaurant when I was, it's like 26, something like that. And it was a great job. I love this job. And I was devastated because it was, I felt like it was unjust, but that's neither here nor there. But I was devastated. And I was just like, oh man, I had this dream job and I still go in there today. I mean, I was just there last week, I think, for lunch. And I always joke with people that I bring there. And I'm always like, if I didn't get fired from here, I would still be working here, which is not a bad thing because it's a great job with great benefits and good money. And they laugh. And I'm like, no, because all the people that I work with almost 20 years ago are still here. So it's like everything kind of, I believe they say everything happens for a reason. And I truly believe that. And if I had to give some advice to my former self, I mean, I don't know. Everything that I've done leading up to this point has brought me here. So I don't really have any advice to give.
You have no advice for your younger self? I have advice for your younger self.
I know you do.
I've got
You've given me plenty of advice too. You've given me plenty.
Younger self. Oh my God.
Okay. I don't know. Don't finish every drink. Okay. Yeah. You know what? I do.
Let's stop there. Don't finish every drink. I think that is really great advice because I can't tell you how many times that I've been to industry events, right? Or when you're out in public and you're at some professional event and some professional is next to you just wasted, right? And you don't really want to hire that person again. And sometimes you kind of feel sorry for them. So let's start there. Why is it important, right? That when we're at these events, or even out with folks, like you feel that pressure, especially when the bartender's made something special for you, right? Like, oh, I gotta finish.
Yeah. And it's tough because maybe not now. I mean, things are much different now. Like everything is much more like mindful drinking and like the slow and the no and low movement and all this stuff. But like, it used to be wild back in the day. Like I would get off work, I'd walk into my bar to see my friend, and he'd pour me, 5 ounces of 100 proof whiskey. I'm like, and he's hooking me up. And I'm like, I look back on it. I'm like, I don't need this. Like, I appreciate it, but like, it was excessive back in the day. Yeah. I mean, just moderation a little bit, I think is a good lesson, but I do have an important life lesson that I would give my former self. Now, I would give anybody listening, and I try to tell people, especially new brand ambassadors, this is the one bit of advice I give them when they start out. And that is, don't get caught up in it. So don't, like I did, don't make this your whole life. Make time for the things that are important. I missed a lot of important moments in my life, whether it's an anniversary or a birthday or, time with my family, because I had to be at this cocktail conference. I had to be here. I had to do this. Did I really need to? Not necessarily. I wanted to. I was so concerned about like advancing my career and moving forward that's all I cared about was just go, 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 go. And it was like, I look back on it and I'm just like, I missed this to go to X cocktail week, that I could have went a day later and went to this event and went to this family event. But I decided that this was more important. And so don't get caught up in it and just, make time for the things that are important, because at the end of the day, it's just a job. And, when you're expendable, it's not like, they say, oh, it's a family, we're a family. It's like when the profits start to dip a little bit, you're the first person on the chopping block. Mm-hmm. So, and enjoy the ride. That's another thing. Enjoy it because, it is a fun job, but it can be gone in an instant. So yeah, make time for the things that are important, I would say is the biggest piece of advice I would give myself.
I think that's really good advice because so many folks, and I think, I'm guilty of this even at one time in my career, making your career your identity, right? This is who I am. I am this product. You cut me and this is what I bleed. And because of that, yes, just like you said, you're going to miss out on a whole lot of fucking stuff, but you're also not going to evolve like you should. I feel like, there's so much more to people, so many more things that I would hope that you're interested in beyond the product. And when you can have conversations outside of what you're selling, outside of your bar, outside of whatever it is, right, that you're doing professionally, that brings richness to you. I don't believe in balance at all. I think it's a crock of shit. But I do think that as a human, that's how we evolve and how we grow and become really multidimensional. We become multifaceted. We gain more skills as well when we think of ourselves as something that's not just, I am what I'm doing to get a paycheck is 100% who I am. That's my identity. And I see that so much, and it really upsets me.
Yeah, it's hard though. It's like, I've never had a job where it's like I clock in, clock out. It's always something. It's always like, whether it's working on the weekends, working at nights, traveling, like I didn't take a vacation for a lot. I think in 4 years, I didn't take a vacation. I think I took one vacation for like a week in 4 years, but that's just because I loved it. It was fun. I was going all over the country, going to Mexico, going to going to Europe, and like I didn't feel a need to take a vacation. So it's just kind of like you just kind of get wrapped up in it and it just becomes part of who you are. And another bit of advice I guess I'd give myself is like get a hobby, do something else beside this. Like I go out sometimes. I try not to. I mean, I don't go out as much as I used to, especially like industry events. It's just like I get anxiety. Someone's like, "Oh, let me tell you about this cocktail. Let me tell you about my new bitters, and let me tell you about this." I'm like, I don't, bro. I've been making cocktails and doing cocktail stuff all day. This is the last thing that I want to talk about. Can we talk about something else? See any good movies lately? What are you watching on Netflix? What's going on? Are you watching New Love Is Blind? I don't know. You are okay.
I absolutely watch Love is Blind.
I know tomorrow.
It's like the best soap opera out there, better than All My Children.
So yeah, just get a hobby or two. That would be advice to myself. I didn't really know what I did other than, I was just like, I would literally travel all over the country and I'd come home from the airport. The taxi would like pull up in front of my apartment and I would just say, wait here. And I would run in, I would drop my bag, get back in the taxi, and then I'd go out. That's how it was. And it was like just go, 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 go.
And when you go, go, go like that and not even taking a pause, and mind you, I think at that time you were probably single, you don't have kids. So you
Right.
do have a lot of time. And when you're younger, you do have a lot more energy and that kind of get up and go. And that's all good stuff. It is. But can you talk about, was there a moment, did you have an aha moment that said, okay, I need to slow down a little?
I mean, I guess after wanting to go to all the things and go to camp and then go to bartender's weekend and Tales of the Cocktail and all this stuff. And it was just like, I kept going to all these things. And it just, after a while, I was just kind of like, what am I even doing here? You know what I mean? Like if my friends are at home, my family's at home, that's where I need to be spending my time. It's like, if it's for work, sure. I mean, it's always for work, but it's just kind of like, what am I really doing down here? So that was kind of like, all right, limit yourself to one or two of these per year. And that's it. And so there was not like an aha moment where I was like, oh, I need to slow down or nothing like that.
There was definitely, for me, because I was going pretty hard as well. And I had a family at home and I was working, as you know, because you took over my gig, my ass off with the academies and everything else and traveling the world and all the things. And I remember coming home from a work trip from Orlando. And to this day, I don't remember being on the plane. I don't remember getting home. I came home with 104 fever and wound up in the ICU for 2 days and in the hospital for 2 weeks with an infection. And I have no memory of that. And that was 100% from overdoing it, causing fatigue, and putting my health in a very unhealthy place. And, that was my aha moment. And so I know that it's a real thing. And especially when you first get in the industry, it seems so glamorous, It seems like so fucking glamorous, right? Like, oh my God, these brands are paying us to go here and there and do all this great travel. But it does take a toll. It can take a toll. It can absolutely take a toll on your mental health and on your physical health. And so I want to talk to you like when you say that you need to have some interests, right? Like outside of what we do. Because when you get wrapped up, it can become a little bit toxic. And thank God for you that you didn't have like that horrible moment, right? That you gradually just figured it out. I think it's really hard as well when you are wrapped up in the industry to find something of interest outside of it. So what do you do?
Well, I started doing photography like I want to say 7 years ago, something like that. 6, 7 years ago. Um, so I'm still figuring out what I'm doing as far as like I'm doing portraits or events or whatever it is. And it's one of those things that I really enjoy and I'm really passionate about, and it's also one of those things that I get frustrated with. And I have to remind myself, because when I talk about, those young kids that are like, I want to do fat washing and clarification and spherification and all this crazy stuff, and they want to like level up. And I'm like looking at all these like photographers and high end creators, and I'm like, oh man, I wish I was as good as them, and like I want to be them. And I got to remember, like I didn't get to where I am today overnight. I didn't just watch a couple YouTube videos, read a couple books, took a class with Bridget Albert, and then all of a sudden, boom, here I am. So I have to like remind myself that like just take it slow, but it's hard. You know what I mean? So I can understand where these guys are coming from, where it's like you want to go straight up and just, do all this, but you gotta like, once again, you gotta learn that foundation. You gotta build that foundation so you can build on top of it. You can't just, so, but yeah. I ride electric skateboards in the summertime.
You taught our daughter how to ride the electric skateboard.
Yes,
I did. God, I'll never forget that summer seeing you and Paige whizzing down our path behind our house. I don't know how fast you were going, but I was like, oh my God, don't break your neck. Either of you. Those things go fast.
Yeah, that was a fun summer. That was a fun summer.
It was a fun summer. And you know what? Because of that skateboarding instance, when she went off to college, what she wanted right away was an electric scooter to get around from class to class. Because she's like, because Dan taught me already how to use the skateboard. So this can't be that much harder. And like totally talked us into buying her one. She still has it today. Now she's a junior in college. True story. Can you talk about some of the people that you've met along the way?
Some of the people that I've met along the way. We'll start with you. So I met Bridget. I'll keep it quick. I met Bridget when she first moved here. How long ago was that?
2005.
2005.
20 years ago.
Okay. So I was 24. So I was a young bartender working at National 27. I didn't know really much about anything. And I went to this launch of this rum that no longer exists. I remember, meeting Bridget at the bar, and she's like, I just moved here and I'm here to start the USBG and I'm here to start the academy and all this stuff. And I was just like blown away just by her energy and like her excitement. And I was just like, man, whatever this woman is doing, I want to be a part of it. So that's kind of how we met. And that changed my career forever. Who else? Henry Besant, RIP. He's was one of the founders of Altos Tequila, larger than life, amazing human being. Who else? Chris Patino, obviously, is someone who is very near and dear to my heart, and will also be forever missed. I'm not trying to make this a sad thing, but those are the people that really stick out and really. I remember when I first met Henry, it was my first full-time brand ambassador job, and I stepped away from the bar. And I was nervous. I didn't know if I was making the right decision by leaving the bar full-time to go into brand ambassador work full-time, because I dabbled in it. I worked for Beefeater in Plymouth for a couple summers, just part-time. And I really liked it, which is why I wanted to do it full-time. And I didn't know if I was making the right decision. And then I went to the launch party, and I was in the waiting room kind of like, figuring out where to go. And then I met Henry. And as soon as I met him, I knew that I made the right decision. He's just amazing, amazing human being. Tomas Estes is also another one. He's just one of the sweetest, most kindest human beings on earth. Julio Bermejo, just a gem of a human being, a gem. He was just in town last year and I saw him, and he He's like, I have something for you. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And he pulled out a bottle of cognac, and it was in a box. And he's like, I got a custom engraved for you. And he didn't tell me. He just said, open it up. And I opened it, and it just said, I had my name and blah, 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 whatever. And then it had a Cubs logo on it. And I was like, Julio, I'm a White Sox fan. And he died. He died. But he's just one of those like hospitality plus people.
He travels with his own lime. So I would love to pause really quick and talk a little bit about Julio, because I remember, I think it was like 2 years ago, you hosted just a few of us at your home and had like a nice spaghetti dinner. And Julio was, staying at your house, I think, for a couple days. And didn't he walk in with like a box of limes?
He had in his checked luggage, he had a case of limes. I'm like, Julio, we do have these here. He's like, it's not the same. It's not the same. I mean, that's dedication. That is dedication.
I think that we're so lucky in this industry to meet such interesting people that are so open to share their stories and that we get to learn from. I think that it's just something that's different. I think that that's one of the things that sets hospitality apart than maybe other industries, right? Like if you're an air traffic controller, your day to day, you're not talking to the person next to you about creative things. I don't know, maybe you are. But I believe that in this industry that there's so many opportunities to share passion and like-mindedness and to learn from one another.
I agree.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. What were some of the moments can you share that were just blew you away in the industry? Just those like, holy shit, this is amazing. Wow moments.
Walking around the monastery on the Chartreuse trip was probably one of the most special trips I've ever been on. I mean, the people that we were with like really made it as well. But that was just, I've been on a lot of brand trips, and that was one that was really, really special. My first time in Mexico, my first full-time brand job, the first time and I was a big tequila fan. I didn't think I could like tequila anymore. And then I went down to Tequila Town, and I, met the people, and I saw the fields, and it was just, it was life-changing from that point on. Hanging out with Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul giving me like legit wedding advice, like marriage advice, like seriously, like it wasn't like, I mean, I ran into Frank Thomas, Big Hurt, at the airport last week. And I was like, oh, Frank, you got any advice for me? He's on his second marriage. And he's like, oh, happy wife, happy life, generic, whatever. Thanks, Frank. But like Aaron Paul really like took the time and was like, all right. And he's like laid it all out there for me. And I was like, man, this guy is like, so it's like those things that it's just like, is this even real life? Like that, it's like those, it's, they asked me to like, they're like, we know this might be beneath you, but Eva Longoria is coming to town to promote her new movie, Flamin' Hot, and her tequila. Would it be okay? Would you be up for it to make a cocktail for her featuring the tequila and Flamin' Hot Cheetos? Said, beneath me. I love both of those things so much. I mission accepted. I understand the assignment. And like, she loved the drinks. Like, oh my God, thank you so much. So I'm like, once again, is this real life? Like, just have all these opportunities to meet all these amazing people. And like, it's like when you meet these celebrities, because we have so many celebrity brands in our house, when you meet the celebrities that are like down to earth, then like, they're like so cool. You're just like, man, you're even cooler. Like you're even like that much cooler. I know it's been so much, like it's been 6 years and there's been so many moments, and I feel blessed. And, sometimes I get frustrated, which I'm sure you can relate with, Bridget. And it's just kind of, you just take the good with the bad. And, there's no such thing as a perfect gig, but I got to say, what I love about my current gig is that I no longer ask people what they can do for me. I ask what I can do for them. And that's the biggest plus. Cause I think, I have brands that like, hey, you want to jump back on the supplier side? And it's like, it's more money and this and that, but it's like just getting back out there again. I did it for almost 10 years. Just put me on the back bar, put me in the well, put me in the cocktail menu, put me on a feature. It's like, it's a young man's game. I can't.
Can you paint a picture of what your day to day is like with your current gig at Southern Glazers?
It changes every single day. But for the most part, it's, developing cocktails for bars, restaurants, hotels, events, working with bartenders to, hone their skills, just introducing people to new products, testing new products. It's really like it changes all the time. My office is 10 minutes away from my house. If I don't have clients, I'm usually not there, but I do have clients pretty much all the time. I thought January was supposed to be slow. It was not. I like getting people, to come in and see what we do. I think once they do, because it sounds weird, you're like, especially if the rep doesn't know how to kind of articulate who I am and what it is that we do. It's kind of like, oh, there's this guy and he's got this bar lab and you can make cocktails. And then like you pull up in this weird parking lot and you don't know which door to go in. And then you go in and then you make a left and you see all these offices and you're like, am I in the right place? Like, no, go behind you. And then you walk into this big basketball gymnasium. But once you come in and you meet me and like, you're immediately just like chill. Like, like it's, that was one of my biggest strong suits as a bartender was just like, when people come into the bar, one of the biggest things when it comes to hospitality or bartending, like people just want to be recognized. It's like, even if it's just like making eye contact and giving a nod or putting a napkin in front of them, putting a glass of water in front of them, just acknowledging them, even though you might be busy, you might not be able to get their drink order right away. It's just that one little bit because, maybe someone's coming in and, we sit at bars all the time and we're comfortable sitting at bars by ourselves. And, we don't think anything of it, but a lot of the time, some of these people, our customers, they come to a place for a new time or come into a place for a first time and they don't quite know what to order. They don't want to order the wrong thing. They don't want to, is this the type of place that I can order a Jägermeister and a High Life, or are they going to look down on me if I order that? And, so it's like making people feel comfortable, like straight off the bat. So, but yeah, once people come in and then they realize what it is, then they feel comfortable like reaching out and coming back. And, when they're working on their fall menu and they're working on their spring menu, and, so it's, it's been great.
Yeah, I love that. Let's talk about trends in Instagrammable drinks. I'm just kidding. I am totally fucking with you.
No, Instagram and TikTok have ruined cocktails.
I don't want to talk about that with you at all. What I want to talk about is a really cool program that I know that you do for Speed Rack for select people once in a while that want to enter Speed Rack. And sometimes you take them through like a boot camp. And I think it's really cool that you open up the space that you were just talking about, right, in your office. And you're able to coach some folks that want to compete. Can you talk about what that experience is like for the folks that you have mentored and that you've coached, and what's that experience like for you?
So I take on one person per year. So that's all I have the bandwidth for. That's all I can invest in. Like I take in one person. So I coached my sister, who's former Speed Rack winner. I coached Liz Pierce, which is a multi Speed Rack winner. But yeah, it's just, it's especially for people that have never done it before. It's just kind of, it's nerve wracking, and it's just putting them through the paces. And the woman that I coached this year, unfortunately, she did not. It was her first competition, and she put in the work. We probably spent 15 hours total of just drills, running them back. And she was just like, what about tomorrow? Let's go. I'm like, you want to come in on a Saturday? Let's go. Like whatever you want to do, I'm here for you. So I'll be here if you want to put in that work. And I was bummed. I was like, it was just like everything that could have gone wrong in that prelim round. Maybe not everything, but it just didn't work out. And, but that's just, your first competition, you're not necessarily, whatever. But I was, I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, no matter what happens, I'm proud of you. We had fun. I don't talk like that. It's like, no, like when you make it on stage, when you win. And she was just kind of like, she was bummed. I'm like, look, espresso martini competition is in a few weeks. I want you to compete in it. It's all you got to do is make 4 espresso martinis as quickly and cleanly as possible. That's it. Trip to Sweden on the line. Okay. That's it. So she's like, okay, I'll do it. All right. So coincidentally, I'm hosting this competition and she makes it all the way to, she has one of the best times, but unfortunately she tied with somebody else. So then they had an espresso martini off where they had to make 2 espresso martinis as fast as they could and as clean as they could. And she won. And it was just like, it was so, I was like,
I love this story.
Oh, I could not believe it. I was just like over the moon. And I'm like I said, I'm behind the bar with them hosting. And I'm just like, I was like, I told you, like, you just got to keep going. You just got to keep going. And she was just, yeah, it was such a great moment. So, but yeah, I opened up the doors for anybody that wants to come and practice. But like I said, one person a year is all I got.
But you commit 100% of yourself to that one person, which I think is really, really important. And I've coached a lot of folks and I can tell you that, and I know you know this, it takes so much energy.
Yeah.
You're typically completely zapped as a coach.
Yeah. And it's not only that, it's like yes, it's a lot of time, which whatever. And it's a lot of, but it's, it's the emotional investment that for me, that gets me. It's not the time. It's not the 15 hours that we put in. It was the 1 minute and 20 seconds during that prelim round. That's what got me. It's not the 15 hours. I'm fine with that. I can do 30. I don't care. But that minute 20, that's was like, oh, but that's all right. She'll be back next year and, she's going to kill it. So I'm not concerned, but yeah, it was a rough one.
In your opinion, are cocktail competitions back?
Are they back or bad?
Yeah, back.
I don't know. I haven't been to many good ones in a long time. So, I mean, I feel like, yeah, I haven't been to a lot. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I'm kind of like, when it comes to like the younger generation stuff, I mean, I don't really see a lot of that, but I don't know. I mean, like there's the big ones like Speed Rack, World Class. I can't think of any other ones.
But
really.
Would you recommend for somebody that's just getting started out, like you're talking about this gal, right, that you coached? Do you recommend that they start off like in the local competitions? Like, what's your advice?
Yeah. I mean, competitions are fun. Like I remember when I did my first cocktail competition and I bombed it. It was brutal, but it was the cocktail competition was held at my bar and I had to like oversee the cocktails that were being served. And then I had to and I was competing and it was just like my Boston glass broke and it was just, my chef was one of the judges too. So it's like, everything was against me. So I didn't place. And then I went to my second cocktail competition and then I made 3rd place. And then I went to my 3rd cocktail competition and then I made 2nd place. And then I was like, there was another competition. And I was like, okay, I like the way that this is going. Like I got to win it. Like I got to take 1st place. And so I asked my boss, I was like, hey, I need Saturday off so I could do this competition. And we worked at a small restaurant and they're like, dude, we only have 2 bartenders. You can't take a Saturday night off for a competition. I'm like, no, but for real, I'm going to win this one. I really feel it. He's like, no, man, I can't give you the night off for a competition. So I was like, all right. So you know how it goes. Dad says no, you go ask mom. So I went to go ask my friend and mentor, Giuseppe Tentori. I was like, Giuseppe, I know I'm going to win this competition. I need the night off. He's like, what? I was like, yeah. He's like, well, all right, well, what's the prize? And I was like, well, it's cash. It's a full page spread in Chicago Magazine. And it's 2 front row tickets to Pearl Jam. He goes, Pearl Jam? It's my favorite band. I said, chef, give me the night off. I will win the competition and I will give you the tickets. He's like, you're off. So yeah, I mean, you can imagine how the story goes. I really had no choice at that point but to win, which I obviously did. So,
and what did Chef do when you handed him the Pearl Jam tickets?
He was just, he did me a favor, honestly. I mean, it's not like I'm not really a Pearl Jam fan anyway. So it really didn't didn't matter to me, but no, he was just, he would always push me. He's honestly one of the people that's made me better in my career and just like never give up and anything it takes. And he's just always been so good to me. And he's always been so supportive. And so, but yeah, it was fun. But I encourage anybody, like that's what I love about this espresso martini competition so much, sponsored by Absolute and Kahlua, is all it is you got to make 4 espresso martinis as fast and as clean as possible. I mean, you don't have to, you're not making a twist. You're not doing any kind of crazy stuff. It's just, we had a lower turnout last year because the venue was in the Loop and it was a Sunday and whatever. But the bartenders that were working the event, I was like, you guys are going to compete, right? They're like, no. I'm like, we're not competitors. And I was like, how many espresso martinis did you make last night? Like, probably like 50. I go, what's 4 more? So I got every single bartender that was working and the bar back to compete in that competition. So it's just a fun way to meet people, get your name out there. It's losing is tough. And I've lost way more competitions than I have won. So, but yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Can you give some advice to our listeners that are really curious about the beverage industry and would like to dip their toe into those waters as a career? What advice do you have for them? I know that's a broad question because there is hundreds of different avenues that you can take, but what advice would you give?
I guess figure out what is the path that you want to go down. Do you want to, what is your passion? I mean, it might take you some time to figure it out. I knew early on that I wanted to be a bartender. And then from that, my passion turned into spirits and cocktails. And, after bartending for 10 years, I was just over it. I just needed to get out from behind the bar. I feel like every bartender has an expiration date, and you can either let yourself sit on the shelf and expire and to be that grumpy bartender that nobody wants to sit in front of. That's just what do you want? What are you having? It's no. So I had to get out, and, I pursued the brand stuff for a while, and, it was good to me. It was a lot of fun and I learned a lot. But I think it's just figuring out what do you want to do? Is it wine? Is it beer? Is it, and I guess my biggest piece of advice is, which I guess is another piece of advice for my former self would be was so hyper focused on spirits and still am say spirits is your thing, which is my thing. Also, take classes in wine, take classes in beer, take classes in sake, because, say you decide you want to be a consultant and you're like, oh, I'm the cocktail guy. No, I'll do your spirits. I'll do your cocktail menu. I'll train your bartenders. I'll set up your bar. That's all great. But if you can say, I'll do your wine list, I'll do your beer list, I'll do your cocktail menu, I'll do your spirits list, and you're a one-stop shop, man, you are so valuable and you will make so much more money. So that's one thing I would have told my younger self is don't just be hyper focused on this. I mean, I know a little bit about wine, I know a little bit about beer, but I can know a lot more.
Well, with that, that is some really, really good advice. And something that I wish I would have done early on was to dive into wine. And I have just started, when I tell you recently, taking classes on wine as of 2 weeks ago, taking classes on wine. So that's something that I regret. So I think that's great advice to become really well-rounded, right?
For sure.
Yeah. Well, with that said, Dan, I want to thank you so much for coming on Served Up, for sharing your story, your passion, giving some just really great advice to our listeners. I do hope that you'll come back on again. I'm continually proud of you, and I can't wait to see what you do next. And with that said, I want to wish you just some great health and a lot of peace. Thanks for coming on Served Up.
Thank you, B.
Thanks for listening. Served Up is brought to you by Southern Glazer's Wine and Spirits, produced by Zunu.online. Music by We Killed the Lion can be found on Spotify. Make sure to subscribe to be notified of our future Served Up episodes. Cheers.